Welcome to the God's Got This podcast. I'm your host, Dawson Muck. I played college baseball at Randall University in Moore, Oklahoma, and on April 22nd, 2022, I was involved in a collision in the outfield, and now I am a quadriplegic. I've created this podcast to share some insight on the journey that God has me on now. I hope you enjoy. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the God's Got This podcast. Today's guest is a special person in my life, one of my best friends since we were in diapers, right? I mean, we go all the way back to diapers.
Oh yeah, we got baby pictures together.
Yeah, this is Easton Snow. So Easton, man, I appreciate you coming out here and being on this, especially which they'll get into it, but especially what we're going to talk about. You know, it's not easy. It's not easy to do. So thank you for being vulnerable and getting on here, because I know your story is going to help somebody, and that's the point. If it helps one person, then it's worth it, right?
Yes, sir. Doss, I appreciate you having me on the podcast.
Of course, man. Of course. So, like I said, man, we go way back to diapers, and so again, you share your story and start from wherever you want, and we'll get after it. So,
all right, yeah. So, obviously, I grew up Christian my whole life. 8 years old, was saved and baptized.
Mm-hmm.
Went to church every Sunday. That was just kind of expected in our household, very much like your household.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we would stay the night with each other, and it was just known that we'd wake up, we'd go to church, and that was how things went.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was a Christian, I would say, for as long as I can remember. Like I said, gave my life to Christ at 8 years old. And that started, my walk started there. I would say at 8, I didn't fully understand what that meant.
Right.
I knew that I said a prayer and that I was supposed to live a different style of life.
Mm-hmm.
But I hadn't really gone through anything in my life that would test that at that point. And so that rocked along, for a few years. Made it through junior high and stuff like that, and no problems. Still said I was a Christian.
Yeah.
No issues or anything like that as far as, in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So then in high school, I would say that's when the disconnect started to happen a little bit.
Yeah.
As far as, kind of living two different lives, I would say. I was a Christian, would still go to church. I was a leader in the youth group at the church, but I would love to go hang out with the boys after the football games and go to parties and stuff like that.
Right.
Didn't really start drinking, and up until maybe summer after our freshman year.
Yeah.
But it was kind of about the high school age when I started to realize that maybe my faith wasn't as solid as what it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I got baptized at 5, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Then I got rebaptized at 15 or 16. I think it's cool, like, to watch, kids get baptized and stuff, but I think that's like a reoccurring theme when you're that young. It's like you get it, but then you don't really, because you haven't experienced much life at 5, 8 years old.
Yeah.
So I totally get that. And when he's talking about going around with the boys and drinking and acting like an idiot, I was right there too. Because man, we just, like I said, we've been best friends since we were young, and so in a small town, and that's like, being from a small town, sometimes you feel like that's all there is to do, right? Is just run around and back road and act like an idiot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because
it's a popular thing to do around here. But yeah, man, continue. Where you at next?
Yeah, so that was kind of my introduction to alcohol was then, and I figured out really fast that I liked the effects produced by alcohol.
Yeah.
I was always, I wasn't an anxious kid or anything like that, but I always just had kind of an uneasy feeling. Wasn't able to sit with myself very well. And I remember the first time that I tried alcohol, I was like, this stuff doesn't taste very great. And then, you know, one of our random buddies was like, just drink more.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, bet. And so I drank some more.
It gets better the more you drink.
Exactly. And, man, I think after like 4 beers, you know, I was like 120 pounds freshman year or something. After like 4 beers, I was like, this isn't too bad. And ended up getting pretty drunk that night. And I was like, man, this was an amazing feeling. No worries. I was, you know, I'm a pretty high strung guy. You know that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I stress quite a bit.
Yeah. Blood pressure runs like what?
Yeah. Well, it's come down a little bit now.
Yeah. Okay.
But it
good.
was running in the 150s.
Yeah. Good.
At one point in time. But yeah, I run pretty hot, and I don't know. Alcohol made me be able to sit with myself for the first time.
Well, you don't have any cares.
Yeah.
You know, like you just you get in that state of mind of like, who cares? I can do stuff that, you know, I wasn't comfortable doing before. So, you know, that's a feeling everybody has.
Well, yeah, and like you said, you know, you mentioned it's just kind of like a rite of passage in a small town, especially, you know, we were hanging out with the guys that were older than us and playing football and stuff like that. And it's like, you know, what are they going to do? And it's like, after the game, we're going to go to a bonfire and we're going to drink beer. And it was like, all right, well, that's what they're doing. So it's like, we might as well all do the same thing.
Yeah.
And then us being the younger guys, they were like, you know,
you're
going to keep up with us.
Yeah, yeah. We're like, these are those guys that you watched in junior high play on Friday night when they were younger. So it was like, whatever you say, dude. We'll do it.
Exactly. So. And I think, you know, for me, that's kind of how I do most stuff. Like when I was in the gym, like I went all the way out. When it came to whatever I was into at the time, like it was like I did it to the best of my ability. And so I don't know why I thought alcohol would be any different. Mm-hmm. And so that leads us up to, you know, kind of our senior year and stuff. We still kind of just rocked along. You know, we didn't get in any trouble really. You know, maybe our parents got onto us a couple of times, but you know, our dads were usually like, it's boys being boys. Maybe we got to, you know, stern talking to here and there. No real life consequences or anything like that. And so then after high school, we went to college, and I started at East Central, and that's kind of when I started going and partying quite a bit more. You could find a party at any house, on a random any night on at East Central, and so house parties became just kind of something that I would go to. Mm-hmm. School wasn't very hard at East Central, no offense, but it wasn't.
Well, I think they call it Easy Credit University, so
it wasn't super difficult, and so I was able to maintain straight A's and was able to party pretty much every night of the week.
Yeah,
and that became. It wasn't like because I just was a party animal. You know, I'm generally pretty introverted. But I really loved drinking, and I didn't want to sit at home and drink by myself because I considered that to be a problem. Mm-hmm. But if I was around a bunch of people, then it was like, oh, it's okay because there's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I was at, and, you know, you came to East Central a few times, and we had some fun.
Yeah, we did. We had some fun, you see, and that's just, I'm a rabbit holer.
Yeah.
You know, I go down rabbit holes, and I like to watch the Unashamed podcast. So I get it from Jace too. Jace on there, he always goes down rabbit holes. But I'm gonna go down my first one right now. You know, you said fun. That was fun, and that's when I go around and like give my testimony and stuff. I say that, and when I always say, you know, I'm gonna keep it real with you. I'm gonna be honest. Sin is fun.
Yeah. And
the youth pastors and everyone, they're like, what? Like, who is this guy, you know? And so I'm like, but here's the difference between fun and joy. You know, happy, that stuff will make you happy, but, you know, through my accident, experience and relationship with Christ, I found joy, because it's fun, but it always leads to emptiness and brokenness. And so, anyways.
No, you're exactly right. That's, you know, I said fun, and I was like, well, it was fun for us at the time.
Yeah.
But it was a fleeting fun. Mm-hmm. It was that fun that the world would dangle in front of our face and made us chase it again and again and again. And so that leads me back into, at that point in time, I was still calling myself a Christian. I never denounced my faith. But if you looked at my life, I would definitely say that I was a lukewarm Christian. I was that guy who was in church on Sundays, but that was the only time. I was living like hell the rest of the week.
Yeah.
Just doing whatever I wanted to do, calling myself a follower of Christ. If somebody said, at college or whatever, if somebody was like, oh, Jesus isn't real, I was the first one to be like, oh, yes, he is, and, fight it and this and that. But then it was like my lifestyle did not reflect that at all.
Yeah. It's kind of a term thrown around like Christian that is loosely used, because the Bible explains what a Christian's like, what a follower of Christ is like, and so, that's a common thing. Oh, I'm a Christian, but are you really?
Are you following Christ?
Are you following Christ? Are you? It's one thing to say it, but you got to show it in the way that you live your life and all that. Man, I was victim of the same stuff, so a bunch of people are. Just be honest.
Well, you know what the scary part is that in the beginning, that stuff did bother me. Like, I felt like the Holy Spirit, did prick my conscience and say, hey, what are you doing right now? My conscience, what are you doing right now? And, but as I started to sin more and started to live in that lifestyle, that still small voice got even quieter. But then I felt like I was okay. I felt like I was good. I was like, I'm having this great time. I'll get my life together when I'm in my 30s and, I want a wife and kids in the house. That's when I'll kind of give it all back to Christ, because right now, I want to have my fun and get it out of my system, and then I'll devote my life to Him once I get everything ready. I'm saved, I'm good, I got my get out of jail free card. Yeah. But now I need to go, have the fun in my 20s.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Same way. I was the same way, man. That's good.
Yeah. So, I went to OU after East Central. Still no real life consequences at East Central. I drank and drove probably a lot more than I should have, and just by the grace of God, I'm still here, and I didn't hurt anybody else. Not proud of that, but it was one of those things, and I look back on it now, and I was like, oh my gosh, what an idiot.
None of this is to brag.
No, it's not.
About yourself or anything, or myself. It's not what it's for. It's to show the grace of God and what He's done in our lives,
Yeah, because I shouldn't be sitting here right now.
Exactly. It's not to sit here and brag I've drank and drove so many times. You know what I'm saying? I'm just making that clear for our listeners and stuff too, is that
yeah, I don't condone that.
Yeah, none of this is good. We're not saying it's good. We're just
No, I'm kind of, trying to show the audience how far down the scale I had gone.
Yeah.
From high school, straight A student to a kid that had a pretty decent reputation, I would say, not trying to brag or anything like that, to, in college still making good grades, but to that guy that was just you associated me with partying. You associated me with that guy who on the weekends just wants to go and get drunk. Yeah. So anyway, that leads us to OU. OU was great. The school, I really enjoyed my time there. I won't go into just a whole lot of detail because honestly, it's just a bunch of more kind of East Central style stories of me drinking a lot. I will say that at OU, that was one of the kind of the first times that I realized that I could have probably have a problem with alcohol. Yeah. I was going to class one time and I was I was in the middle. So obviously COVID hit, right? Yeah. So this is 2020? Yep. And we were
sophomores, I think.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I started having these panic attacks, and I didn't know what in the world a panic attack was. Where we come from, our dads are like, panic attacks, dude, just get over it.
Get tough.
Get tough.
Just toughen up.
Are you kidding me? But it was debilitating. It was to the level of I didn't want to leave my house. I didn't want to get up. Not many people, know this about me.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they were rough. It was about a year I was fighting these panic attacks, and I didn't know what it was. I went to the doctor, and they were like, "Oh, it's panic attacks." And I was like, "That's so stupid. It's not even a real thing. If I'm having panic attacks, then I'm not a man." Yeah. But nothing could be further from the truth. So anyway, that led me to going to school and stuff like that, and I'm having these panic attacks, and I realized very quickly that alcohol would calm my nerves. And so that's when I first started like using alcohol as a self-medication. Anytime I would get anxious, I would start self-medicating with alcohol. And at the time, I don't think I consciously knew that that's what I was doing, but it 100% started a very slippery slope that led to some dark times for sure.
Man, that's something, and that's like, I had my bout with smoking marijuana and stuff when we were in high school, and it was like one of those things too. It's a lie from the devil
Yeah.
in your head. Like, I can quit whenever I want. I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
This is just something I do for fun. At any second, I can put it down. But it's a lie. It's a lie from Satan that it just keeps you drawn in. Because again, I told myself that too. I can quit whenever, and then looking back, it was like, man, I wasn't full fledged. It wasn't a problem yet, but it was gonna be one. If I hadn't gotten caught.
Yeah.
But man, to admit that you have a problem like that takes a lot.
Well,
that takes not everybody can do it, obviously, because there's people that still have problems.
it wasn't that easy. I fought it for a number of years. I would say from about 2020, until 2024. So a good 4 years I fought.
Yeah.
Admitting, I think I always knew in the back of my mind, like, I drink differently than most people. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you were there. Like, I was the one that was like, if there was a 30 pack, I was going to drink the whole thing, and it was going to be 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I was still going to be up looking for the next round.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you definitely could put it away. That no doubt.
There was no beer safe around me, and I look back now that I've been sober over a year, and I look back, and the whole time I wasn't comfortable with, for one, who Easton was,
Yeah.
and for two, I was looking for a solution of this world, or I was looking for a solution that would cure my problems in this world, or my state of being, and you're not going to find that solution in this world.
Right.
When I made my declaration of faith in Christ and was baptized, I don't think at 8 years old I consciously said, like, oh, when things get really, really hard, I'm going to fall back on Christ. And so when I replaced that with alcohol, that became sort of my, I wouldn't say like I would say it was my God, but in a sense it was. Like, that was what I went to every time I needed an escape.
Yeah.
That was what I reached for, was a quick fix.
Yeah. Well, the world. I mean, you can watch TV and watch a show or whatever, and at least probably I would say at least one commercial during the commercial break is about alcohol.
Yeah.
And it's just a world. We live in a world where it advertises and makes it seem like it's not that big of a deal. But if it can be a terrible, terrible drug that grabs a hold of you and you can't get loose. So let's revert. Let's go back. So what happened? Like, when did you realize I've got a problem?
Yeah, so obviously there's years of that in the making, but to condense it a little bit.
Yeah. Was there one specific?
Well, yeah, there was definitely one specific scenario, but
Yeah.
I'll just give a couple real fast. Obviously, I got a DUI. That you thought would be a wake up call. It was not. Got out of jail. The first thing I did, grabbed a beer. Holy cow, I need a beer. Okay. I had a wreck in my truck. Should have died. That you would have thought had been a wake up call. Was not. And then finally, the final one, and there was other stuff along the way, but the final one was, I had gone 7 months not drinking, because at this point I knew that, like, okay, I've got a problem.
Yeah.
I wasn't drinking every day ever. Like, that wasn't ever really a thing for me. Like, I was like, in my head I would tell myself, well, I don't drink every day, so I'm not an alcoholic. Like, that was kind of the weird line that I'd drawn. But when I did drink, I just went crazy.
Yeah.
So anyway, 7 months of not drinking, I'd convinced myself that I wasn't an alcoholic. I didn't have a problem with alcohol. I just went 7 months without drinking on my own. I was like, I'll just go have a beer at the bar. Like, the Bills are playing, whatever. Well, I woke up 10 days later in the hospital. And
Oh, jeez.
yeah. So I went on a 10-day alcohol binge. And that was what finally, I think, woke me up to realize, like, I don't have any control over this.
Yeah.
Like, once I ingest alcohol into my system, it's off to the races and nobody's going to be able to stop me. It's either I'm going to run out of alcohol, I'm going to wind up in jail, or, yeah, I'm going to be in the hospital. Like, that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, in my mind at least.
Yeah.
And that was, September of 2024, I think. Yeah, that was in September of 2024, so just
Wow.
a little over a year ago.
Huh. And then you shared with me there was an instance with like a nurse or something, right, where you were in there and
Which?
they were like something about your alcohol level was like.
Oh yeah, dude.
That gave me chills when you said that.
Yeah, so my BAC level, and it's still hard for me to say, but my BAC level, let's just say that it was over what should be a lethal dose of alcohol in somebody's bloodstream. And she came up to me and she said, I've never seen someone with a BAC level this high, with a heart still beating, let alone standing in front of me. And she said, I don't know what God has in mind for you or what your purpose is, but it's something, and you need to get a hold of this.
Man,
Yeah.
that's something. It still gave me chills again.
Yeah, and I'm I'm sitting there and I'm still pretty drunk at this point.
Right.
And so it was at that moment, kind of, I remembered that and was, in and out for a few days of detoxing basically from alcohol. And that was my only, drug, I guess, if you want to call it that, was alcohol. I never really tried anything else. I tried, weed a couple of times, but it didn't really do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Alcohol was definitely what did it for me. I never really tried anything else. Thankfully, because if I drank that hard, then there's no telling what I would have done on some other stuff.
Yeah.
But then the psychiatrist came in a little later too on that, and he told me the exact same thing, similar, not exact, but he was like, dude, he said, I don't know what your story is, he said, but you need to use it to help people. And as I'm laying there in the hospital, I lost, so I was weighing about 220 before I went in, and I'm laying there in that hospital, and I was like 198.
Wow.
Yeah.
Golly. So you probably like had an 8.
Had an 8, yeah.
Jeez.
Most people don't understand, like, what a true person who has a true problem with alcohol.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not even going to act like I do.
Well, no, I'm not even saying, like, from the understand. I'm just saying, like, you think it's somebody who just drinks all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who really has a problem with alcohol, it's like it consumes them to a point of, I don't want to do anything but drink.
Yeah.
And that's where I was.
Wow. Man. So from the hospital, then what?
Well, yeah, being the hard-headed guy that I am, in the back of my mind, and logically speaking, I was like, oh boy, this isn't good. I got to get a hold of this.
Yeah.
But I hate being told what to do. You know that.
Oh yeah.
So my mom and my dad come in there and they're like, "You're going to treatment," and I'm like, "Oh, am I?" Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And this was something I had been fighting a long time coming, and because I felt like treatment was sort of saying that I don't have the willpower or I don't have the strength to do this on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, that was something that just really, really got under my skin, because I've always been able to kind of set my mind to something and do it. Not saying, I wasn't, I never set my mind to like climbing Mount Everest, so I'm not saying I could do that.
Yeah.
But as far as the goals that I had set thus far in my life, I could have achieved them.
And as a man too, we think like we can't ask for help. A young man, that's kind of like a general misconception, I feel like, for men, young men, older men, like middle-aged men. We can't ask for help. We're supposed to we're supposed to be the one. We can do this ourselves, you know. So
Well, and then, coming from a small town, I love this town, but coming from a small town, it's like I knew that if that was what I was going to do, if I was going to go get treatment, I was like, everybody's going to talk about it.
yeah,
And that was at that point in time that was very front and center in my mind. I was like, oh gosh, Easton's going to be the kid that, had to go do this and he had to go to treatment. Oh my gosh.
yeah,
And so that was like a lot of it too.
Yeah.
And, thankfully now, like, that doesn't bother me. Like, at the end of the day, it's like I did what I needed to do to get better, and I got my life back on track, and regained my faith. So I honestly, I really don't care now.
yeah.
But at that time, it was a big
deal.
Yeah, it was a huge thing.
Yeah. So where'd you go? Do you mind? I mean, do you mind getting into that?
No, I don't mind getting into that at all. So we were obviously, my sisters and my mom, my dad, everybody's like scouring the internet, like trying to find a place to send me, and I'm like, oh gosh, like I'm like, at this point, like I'm beyond embarrassed, and I'm just like, give me a couple of days out of the hospital, and I'm finally like able to walk again on my own, and because I hadn't eaten, and so, but anyway, and I'm like, oh, I think I'm gonna be all right, and my mom's like, no, sit down, you're going, like I don't care,
and at the time you're like, would you leave me alone?
Mm-hmm.
But now looking back, I'm sure you're like, man, I'm glad I have family.
Yeah,
that cared enough about me to,
for sure,
to tell me that, to help me seek, even when I wasn't ready yet. Like they were pushing you towards it. I'm sure. I mean, I don't know. I feel like that might be.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, honestly, like in the back of my mind, like I knew, like I was like, what scared me the most was, and this, I haven't really told many people this, what scared me the most was I consciously had tried multiple times to limit my drinking.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I would go out and say, all right, I'm going to have just a couple, and this is where, like, I'm going to draw the line. I never succeeded. And I didn't tell myself that. Like, I didn't tell anybody that. I just would tell myself, like, okay, I'm just going to go out and have 6 beers. We're going to call it good, Never. Like 6 beers maybe in the first 30 minutes.
Wow.
And I had also told myself, like, okay, I'll go 2 months without drinking. I would do that, but and I didn't realize it at the time either, but during that time, those 2 months, I was miserable. And now knowing that, there's something called an obsession of the mind. We can get into that a little bit later, but I thought about alcohol every single day. Like, it was one of those things of like, I would go home and I'd be like, okay, I'm not going to drink. 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 But it was like, I want to drink. I want to drink. I want to drink. I want to drink. And it was like so overwhelming that like at the end of that 2 months, when I would finally let myself drink, it was just a spiral, dude. I would drink so much.
Golly.
But anyway, where did I go? Sorry. Got off on a little bit of a rabbit hole there. We finally found a place in Delray Beach, Florida, and it was called Transformation Treatment Center. They actually closed down, so they're not open anymore. And I would say that place probably saved my life.
Yeah.
I owe it to a lot of people there, a lot of gratitude there. Obviously, at the end of the day, God is the one who saved me, because there's no reason that I should be sitting here talking to you right now, like what that nurse said.
Yeah.
No reason whatsoever. I should have been dead just from alcohol poisoning alone.
Yeah.
And so I went down there, did 30 days, and through that treatment program, like, I wouldn't say that was the main thing that saved me, but what it did was it gave me perspective, right? Because somebody like me, I'm very logical. If you lay out a plan in front of me and I can read it and I can say, okay, I can make sense of this. And now if you're just going to tell me just some random stuff and, oh, you're an alcoholic because of this and that, whatever.
Yeah.
But if you lay out a list of things and then you show me a step work solution to get there, to achieve what I wanted to, I can do that. And that's kind of what they did. They lay out a general solution to alcoholism. And so that's when I started working through, what would be considered a treatment plan. And that was when I realized that my faith was not what I thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
I'd ask God to remove my alcoholism 100 times on my knees, begging. But I never really did anything about it. I would say, "Oh God, woe is me, please, please forgive me of this, and or relieve me of this." And it never worked. But finally, when I got down there, and for one, I had to admit to myself that I was of the alcoholic type that could not drink alcohol.
Mm.
Man, that was tough.
Yeah.
Because, first of all, I didn't want anybody to tell me what I could or couldn't do.
Yeah.
Second of all, I didn't want to think that alcohol had beat me.
Yeah.
Because that's what I thought it was at the time. Like, oh man, I can't touch that stuff because in my mind, I can't say no. So that was just a whole psychological thing in and of itself.
Yeah.
And then I had to rededicate my life and my faith back to Christ, man. That was the keystone of it all. I know I've talked a lot about alcohol and this and that, but at the end of the day, had I not turned back to God and my faith, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. And that was my first time going through treatment. And there's only a 2% success rate for people that go to treatment their first time and go a year or longer without drinking. I'm not saying I'm a prodigy. I'm not even, this isn't anything on me. It's clear, it's solely by the grace of God and those foundations that were set in me at such a young age.
Man.
It wasn't anything that I did, because I tried to quit drinking on my own for 4 years. I tried to limit myself. I couldn't do it. But the moment I got down on my knees and I said, "God, not my will anymore, but your will be done. I'm going to stop fighting it. I'm turning this over to you, and I'm going to do what you have me do next. What will you have me do next?" And that is when the real change started to take place.
I'm telling you, that right there, when you say it from your heart, I had similar experience just with that prayer. After my injury, I had the collision. They get me in the ambulance, and in the ambulance, same thing. I just said, "God, I'm tired of running.
Yeah.
I'm tired of running. I'm ready to do what you've called me to do. So, again, your will, not mine." And just immediately, it was like, man, I was just a brand new person in it. And it's hard, you can't explain it to someone who's never experienced it.
No.
Like, there's no word to experience or to explain it. It's just like real transformation happens immediately. And there's still stuff. I'm not saying I'm like the perfect, just since that moment I'm like the perfect Christian, and
we're both far from it.
Yeah, I fail every day, but like I never truly knew what it meant to have a relationship with Christ until I said that prayer and meant it from my heart.
Yeah, dude. That gift of desperation it's a blessing. I tell people now, I'm like, I thank God that I'm an alcoholic. And they're like, "What?" Yeah, because it saved my life.
Yeah.
It brought me back to my faith.
Yeah.
And your experience was vastly different from mine, but that gift of desperation, you can understand that.
It's the same. It all comes back to spiritually is a lot of the same.
We were both spiritually dead.
Yeah. We had nowhere else to go.
Mm-hmm.
We were to our rock bottom, and at that point we found God and what was really important, what it's all about.
Yeah, and I realized too, that Jesus said, if you're lukewarm, I will spew you out of my mouth. And I was like, for the longest time, I was like, well, why would you do that? And it's like, you're neither cold nor hot, you're lukewarm. And it's because of, dude, my witness during that time, when I was calling myself a Christian, and I was getting drunk with the rest of them and just doing whatever I was doing, people would look at me and say, if that's what a Christian is, then what's any different than what I'm doing? Why
Yeah.
do I need this Jesus guy? Or they would say, you know, a prayer and be like, okay, well, I'm a follower of Christ now, and then go
Yeah.
keep living. They would never have a true, an
Mhm.
internal heart change.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Jesus is like, you know, you people who are riding the fence like that, just get out of here. Like,
Yeah.
and I never really understood that, and I never would have considered myself a lukewarm Christian until I look back, and now I'm like, that that's the way that I was
For
living.
sure. I was definitely lukewarm. I mean, there was no. I like to say it when I speak. I had no root to my relationship.
Yeah.
You know, because I had 3 experiences where God like tried to get my attention when He called me to the ministry, and then I got a DUI, or I got caught smoking weed. Then I got a DUI. Like all these times, and when I got caught, you know, I was embarrassed. Most of it was embarrassment, but like there was part of me that really wanted to like change. Like, okay, you know, I really do want, but that was as deep as it got.
Yeah.
You know, there was no. I would read my Bible for about a week, and I would do it every night, and then slowly I'd miss a night, and then not that just reading your Bible is what it's all about, but
Right.
like I was intentional about deepening my relationship with
Yes.
God, because that's what it's about. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what, you know, religion, denomination. Like, it's all about a relationship. None of that really matters. That's what He calls us to, and so, and so like I part of me wanted it, but I wasn't. I didn't understand. I didn't fully understand that what it took. Like just the relationship aspect of it.
Yeah, it's so crazy because we both grew up in church,
Mhm.
so you would think like, and not just like, you know, here and there. It was like every Sunday, especially you with, you know, your parents were
Yeah.
youth pastors.
Yeah.
But you don't understand how much you really need Christ, and you really need that relationship until you're in a place to where you're, like you said, you have nowhere else to turn, and you're like, okay, God, like I lay it all out before you. What will you have me do? And it's a very humbling place to be.
Mhm.
For me, I was always like, I can do this on my own. Like you said, like a man, do
Mhm.
this and that. And it was like, at that point, I was like, all right, I'm going to take all the armor off, take all of the ego off, and what will you have me do next? And it's pretty simple. You start reading the Bible, you start trying to align your heart with Him, and that's when the real change started taking place.
Yeah.
For anybody, you know, that listens to this that may be, you know, struggling with alcohol or any sort of substance for that matter, what I learned throughout this whole thing was I was in search of a solution, like I said earlier, to whatever it was in life that I was going through, whether it was stress, whether it was anxiety, whether it was just I didn't feel like feeling today, whatever it was, where I couldn't sleep or this or that, and alcohol became that fix for me, and it became almost like anything that happened in my life, I was going to reach for alcohol. It's like a pacifier almost.
Mhm.
And that is such a miserable way to live, because you always feel like you're going to have to drink more. You always feel like you're going to be chasing something. You wake up, you know, you feel terrible. And not only the negative health effects, but the mental effects that it has too, as far as, you know, the rebound effect of, you know, we can get to a whole GABA and how it messes with your serotonin levels, and like the anxiety, the rebound anxiety is way worse than the day before. So it's like, it does all sorts of stuff to your system, man. But that God-sized hole in my heart was not going to be able to be filled with alcohol, no matter how much I drank, and I drank myself into oblivion.
Yeah. Man, that's good stuff. That is good. That's good. So, what are you doing now? Where's God taking you? So you were at Florida?
Yeah, man. So I'm still in Florida. It's funny enough, I work at at an electrical contracting company.
Full circle.
Yeah, full circle, right?
You did that in high school.
I did that in high school. It was one of those God things, for sure.
Yeah.
I was doing private equity and banking and stuff like that, you know, in finance, and the long hours and stuff, dude, I hated it. There was a lot of money, but
so it's not what it's all about.
Got me to chasing stuff again, you know.
Yeah.
And so doing that at an electrical contracting company, and I've been scuba diving in Florida. So,
What?
Yes, sir.
Like, you're trying to become a scuba? Like, you do this?
No,
You've done it
I'm
once,
an
or?
advanced open water diver now.
Oh, okay. So you're like,
Certified.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I didn't know that. That's
dude.
cool. How'd you get into that?
Well, I was like, what am I going to do with my time now? And so I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to go. Like, I went scuba diving one time when we were in Mexico.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I love this. And I always loved being underwater. So I was like, all right,
That's freaking cool.
So,
I didn't know that.
Now I'm scuba diving. I haven't been in a minute just because it's a all day thing and it just takes some time but dude, I love it, going underwater and just seeing. I was swimming with some Goliath groupers and they were like the size of this table.
Jeez.
Big old fish.
Well, it's like a whole other world under.
I was 100 feet down and was swimming along the shipwreck. Dude, it was amazing. Like I said, you got a Goliath grouper the size of this table and he's like right beside you just swimming. You're like,
wow.
Jeez.
So how did you go about? You just like looked up. Can you just reach out to like classes? You just go to classes? And
I was actually talking to a guy at church, and he was in a similar situation that I was, because South Florida is like the recovery capital of the world. There's more treatment centers in South Florida than anywhere in the United States.
Wow.
South Florida, if you're watching this and you do need, some help or something like that, South Florida, Delray Beach is one of the best places in the world to get better. Side note, but anyway.
Yeah, it's good.
So I met a guy who was in a similar situation, and he was like, hey, dude, I got sober, and he was like, dude, I love diving. He was like, it's just awesome. He's like, I'm kind of like you. I'm high strung. I got to be doing something. And he was like, you go underwater. Anyway, so he hooked me up, and there's like, dude, 40 or 50 dive shops around. So it's so super easy. I live like 10 minutes from the beach, and then the coast of Florida, the east coast of Florida, it's just like long. So you can just drive down. There's dive shops everywhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty stinking cool, dude.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything you want to share that we didn't touch on, or?
Dude, just watching you, man. And I know I say this to you quite often, but it's true, dude. When seeing how your faith and your strength after your accident, man, that really got me through a lot. When I was sitting down there in Florida thinking about things, and I was just like, man, Dawson, he rededicated his life to Christ. He's in I got to do what he did. I got to get back on track. And so, dude, I really appreciate you, and dude, you're just an inspiration to me every single day. So.
I appreciate that. I didn't mean for you to brag on me here.
Oh, I thought that was what the $20 was for.
Sure.
No, I'm
sure.
just kidding.
No, man, you're an inspiration. Seriously, this is going to inspire somebody. I know it, because one of the hardest things in the world to do is admit to yourself you got a problem.
Yeah.
And hearing you talk about it, it's going to inspire somebody.
Well, once you admit it, that's the hard part.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can start getting better.
Yeah.
And giving it to God. That was the most important thing. One last thing. They told me when I went to treatment that the one thing that takes people back out drinking, back out using, whatever, is they don't have a relationship with a higher power. My opinion, this is a Christian podcast, it's got to be God. It's got to be Christ.
Yeah.
They're going to say higher power, but it has to be Christ. There's nothing else sustainable.
Yeah.
That's what they say takes people back out the most, is because they wrestle with that. And I'm telling you right now, that is no doubt in my mind, that is what got me sober, and that is why I'm still sitting here today.
Man, that's good. Again, thank you for coming on here and sharing your heart, being so vulnerable.
You bet,
and
brother.
it's inspiring, dude. Keep it up, man. I love it.
Yes, sir. Thank you, bud.
All right. We'll catch you next time. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you have questions, ask them in the comments and I will answer them on the next episode. If you are wanting to reach me for a speaking engagement, you can reach out through either the God's Got This Facebook page or my email that is in the podcast description. Thanks again, and remember that no matter what you are going through in life, you can always find peace in the fact that God's got this.